Hi folks, welcome to Economic Observations. Today is Wednesday, the 30th of December. Boy, only one more day left in 2020, and I know a lot of people a much better year in 2021. The pandemic certainly blindsided us all. A lot has been going on in the past few days with the Senate and in Congress in general. Here is a recap from my last video. Trump did finally sign the stimulus bill, and he is demanding $2,000 checks. Since then, the House drafted an amendment to the original bill asking for $2,000 in stimulus checks rather than the $600. The $600 are on their way out to everyone's bank accounts at record speed, apparently, and we should expect them in our accounts within the next few days. So with that, when the House did the amendment, they also amended that $2,000 checks would be issued to working adults and their child dependents, and that's everyone under 17 years old. Bernie Sanders is demanding that a vote be taken on the bill. He feels since 44 Republican members of the House voted in favor of the $2,000 stimulus, he believes that the Republican Senate would have the votes. However, Mitch McConnell squashed that. He pretty much, the $2,000 is doomed on the Senate. Mitch McConnell has said he is not voting on the $2,000 stimulus checks without the repeal of Section 230 and a look into possible election fraud. They don't have many days left. The Georgia Senate race is on Tuesday. And the Democrats are going to filibuster until such time as they run out of time. I know that I was listening to Pat Toomey speak the other day, and his concern was that the $2,000 was going to people who didn't necessarily need it. It wasn't all people getting it who didn't need it, but the Republicans are concerned that people who are working, they've been able to work from home. Their income has not been affected. On the contrary, they already got a stimulus package because they're not paying for transportation, parking, gas, trains, buses. They're not buying lunch in the shops near their offices, and they're not even buying clothes because everyone's working from home and they don't have to dress up anymore. So those people haven't been affected. And I understand that, but it's really hard to distribute something in mass quantity at record speed. And this is where the problem lies. I personally am a big proponent of the young people getting it between the ages of 18 and 26, whose parents still claim them as a dependent. We know that some of these kids are in college, they're working part-time, they incurred a lot of debt. They are just starting out their lives, and why are they forgotten? What about the college graduate who was anticipating getting a job out of school only to have it squashed because the pandemic happened and there are no opportunities? Not every college graduate goes into a white-collar situation. Look at lawyers, people who graduated from law school hoping to, work in the courts, and the courts were all closed for many months. Everything is virtual, and it's really hard for companies to hire someone on a virtual basis. There's a lot of instances. So why are these people forgotten? Why are the young people who need the check most desperately forgotten? Maybe it's, and I don't want to discriminate against anybody, and there is no fair way of doing this, right? I mean, they're cutting off at certain salaries where if you just make over that threshold, you're entitled to nothing. I understand it is a sliding scale, but under the Democrats and the House's new bill, a couple making $300,000 is still going to get a $500 stimulus check, which is absurd to me, and that's a really high income, especially in a lot of parts of the country where some people are destitute and desperate for the money. They are $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in debt in back rent. You have people who haven't paid their mortgages. You have students who haven't paid their student loans. You have a bigger problem. And I guess the Republicans want it more equitable. But there's no easy way to do it. But I'm saying there should be an application that you fill out. That, maybe it's not urgent, or maybe it's not, instantaneous, and maybe it's not being doled out at record speed. But the $2,000 should be paid, and it should be paid to those who need it most. I mean, why should a family of four, two working parents with two kids, let's say ages 2 and 6, why should they get $8,000? And the family of four with two kids, ages 18 and 20, only get the $4,000. It just doesn't seem fair. We know that teenagers and older adults have much bigger appetites than small children. So there are disparities, and I don't think there is an easy way to figure this out. And it's certainly not a fast way of. But what about those college graduates or those kids who were looking for a job or hoping to get a job that can't find a job now? Should they be entitled to some kind of weekly stipend so they can brush up their skills, or, buy a new laptop, or maybe even some clothes to go on that interview? What is the future for those young kids with 1-2 years of Deadsville on their resumes, right? You graduate college, you don't have a job, employers are going to say, well, what did you do this year? What did you do this year? I tried to stay safe. They can't even Uber or Lyft it because the demand is not there. Anyway, we're in a quagmire of a situation. I don't know how in the world we're going to get out of this. I don't know how in the world they can possibly do it fairly. Being fair is not always easy. And that's where we're at today. And I wish we can change it. I really do. Because I think with the same amount of spending, we can really give it to those who need it most. I know someone who's on Social Security. He had no job for 3 years. He was 50 years old living with his 75-year-old parents. He didn't get the first stimulus check because he wasn't in the system. He deserves the first stimulus check. I don't know. Anyway, the pandemic drove up a massive stock market gains. And what happens next? The economy bounced back. The recovery was choppy, and millions remain unemployed, and yet the stock market is surging to record highs. The market's rapid gains are based on optimism vaccines will turn the world into normal in the new year, and businesses will do so as a result. But some strategists say that it's distorted, and I'm with those strategists. And they'd likely see a pullback in early 2021 through stocks. But they expect it ending higher at the end of the year. Of course it is. Look at all this stimulus money that's going to go into the stock market, folks. Well, I think that's a bunch of hogwash. And folks, this vaccine is not a guarantee. The vaccine was tested very limitedly. It was only tested on the 22,000 people that were in the study that got the real virus, and said, well, 89 of those people contracted COVID, but the symptoms weren't severe. We don't know if they had no vaccine, how their symptoms would have been. We know that the vast majority of people don't have many symptoms. We have a lot to learn with this vaccine. I'm glad the stock market and investors seem to think that this is a win-all. We got to wait and see. And if you're like me, just a schmo citizen, we're lucky if we get it in May or June. And hopefully by then we'll know a lot more. All right, folks, enjoy the last day of 2020. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments or questions, please comment, like this video, and subscribe if you haven't. I'd really appreciate it. We're at 50 subscribers, and boy, 2021, I'd like to see this channel with 10,000. Have a great day, folks. We'll talk soon.